All right, third grade, well, we're gonna do our pattern 3 practice and improve sentences. So you probably feel like you have had Shurley grammar coming out your ears this week, but I just want to encourage you that you're doing really great with this. And I know, because I have a third grader working on this at home too. So I don't want you to forget, you're just doing awesome. And this is, don't fool your parents. This is one of our favorite things to do in class, the practice and improve sentences. I know you guys always have fun with what you can come up with on your own, and I always have a lot of fun reading them. And sometimes they're really silly, but that's kind of what makes them fun because you get to be creative and put your own spin on this. So I can't wait to see what you come up with this week. So I am going to walk you through practice and improve sentences with our pattern 3 because we've not done that yet. And then you're gonna go ahead and independently come up with your own 3. I see I've cut off part of the board. I'm afraid to move you or I might lose the whole little setup I have going on here. Okay, I think you can see the whole thing and hopefully we won't drop off here. And then you're gonna do your 3 of your own. And remember how you set it up when you do practice and improve sentences? You write practice, and you write your labels, and you write your practice sentence, and then you write improved, and you make the changes that I have given you. And so it's gonna be 1 synonym change, 1 antonym, and 1 complete word change. And that is what you're gonna do for your improved sentence. So you should set up your paper a lot like this. You should write practice and improved for each sentence, and you should have the same labels for each sentence. Your labels should always be above, and fill in the words for your practice, and then your improved sentence should be an even better sentence. When you give me a synonym or an antonym, make it a better noun or a better verb, a stronger verb than you had originally. And then when you change a complete word, find a word that maybe wasn't very good, that didn't fit very well in your sentence or wasn't very strong, and make that your complete word change so that it really is an improved sentence. All right, so I'm going to walk you through this real quick, and then you know how to do this, so you're going to do it. So when you're doing your practice sentence for Unit 3, you're going to go, and today I've chosen subject pronouns. And if you're like, Mrs. Johnson, I don't remember all the subject pronouns, we haven't been in school for a little while, I just want to remind you, you have a jingle for that. And I'm gonna tell you which jingle to go to. I know you can find out yourself, but it's jingle 10. Remember, there are 7 subject pronouns that are easy as can be: I and we, he and she, it and they and you. So if you go to that, or if you remember that in your head and you sing that jingle, that makes it super easy. So I'm gonna come up with my own subject pronoun out of those seven subject pronouns. And I'm gonna choose I, because I just feel like that. So my practice sentence is gonna say I. All right, so you think of a pronoun when you're doing it that you wanna use. Go to the verb transitive label for verb and the direct object. So now I'm going to look at the verb transitive and the direct object. Since we see the T on the verb label, we know that this sentence is a pattern 3 sentence. It must have a direct object. So you must think of a verb that will enable you to immediately name a noun that answers what or whom. To do this, you must do 3 things at one time. First, say your subject. Second, say the verb you select. Third, say what after the verb to make sure you have also found the direct object. So here's an example. I gave Tim what? All right, so I know that that verb gave is good there because I can answer what and have a direct object. I gave Tim a cookie. All right, so cookie would be my direct object, gave, and Tim would be my indirect object. Since cookie is the direct object, you know the verb is transitive, so you fill in both blanks at one time. Make sure that your verb makes sense with the subject noun, right? I want these sentences to make sense. Then write the verb you have chosen in the line under the verb transitive label, and then write the direct object you have named under the direct object label. So I'm gonna say, I gave, but I'm not gonna give Tim something. I gave My indirect object, I think I'm going to give Bennett a cookie. I gave Bennett, what did I give Bennett? A cookie. Right? Go to the indirect object. The indirect object is now always the noun or pronoun between the verb and direct object. To find the direct object, say the subject, verb, and direct object. Then ask the question, to whom or for whom? I gave a cookie to whom or for whom? I gave it to Bennett. Make sure that your indirect object makes sense with the rest of your sentence. Then write the indirect object you have chosen on the line under the indirect object label. All right, so far my sentence is making sense. I gave Bennett, what did I give Bennett? I gave him a cookie. Go to the adjective label in front of the direct object noun for an adjective. Go to the direct object that you have written and ask an adjective question to describe the direct object. Remember the adjective questions: what kind, which one, how many. All right, so choose one adjective question to ask and write your adjective answer under the adjective label. So I'm gonna say, something unusual maybe. Like I gave Bennett something that describes cookie. What kind of cookie? How about I gave him a giant cookie? I think he would like that. Gave him a giant cookie. Now I go to the A. Remember the A is my article adjective, and I do a, an, or the. Well, the only thing that really fits here is A. I guess the would fit too. I gave him the giant cookie. But I'm going to say I gave Bennett a giant cookie. All right? Finally, check your practice sentence to make sure that it has the necessary parts to complete a sentence. Remember, what are the 5 parts of a sentence? It's got to have a subject, a verb, it's got to make complete sense, and it's got to have a capital letter and an end mark. So let's check mine. I don't think I got my end mark. I gave Bennett a giant cookie. I've got a subject, I've got a verb, it makes complete sense, and I've got an end mark right there at the end. All right, now under your practice sentence, write improved sentence, and now we're going to improve this sentence. So I'm going to see how I could make it better. It's harder to find, so here's a couple of suggestions to make it better. You're going to, of course, make one synonym and one antonym change, and then a complete word change. Okay, so since it's harder to find words that can be changed to an antonym, right? That's always a challenge we have here in class, is finding antonyms. It's usually wise to go through the sentence and find your antonym change first. So I'm going to look through this sentence and I'm going to see if I can find an antonym and change that first, because finding a synonym is often easier. And then look through the sentence again to find a word that can be improved with a synonym change. And finally, make a decision about whether your last change will be a complete word change. And so here's the thing. If you cannot find a complete word change, then you can do another synonym or antonym. Okay, and that is a complete word change, but that might make it easier if you're having trouble thinking of a way and you can't really change the whole meaning of the sentence at that point. Go ahead and throw in another synonym or antonym. So I'm going to give you my improved sentence. But one thing you could also use when you're trying to do a practice and improve sentences, don't be afraid to use your toolkit that has lots of great quality adjectives and strong verbs. You can also use a thesaurus to look up synonyms and antonyms of words. So let's look at my practice sentence. I gave Bennett a giant cookie. I am going to do an antonym, or a word that means the opposite first, because that's often hard to find. I'm going to give him a tiny cookie. So under adjective, I'm going to go down here. I don't think he's going to be as happy, but I'm going to give him a tiny cookie. Probably more appropriate though for his age. All right, so now I've done and I'm going to just go ahead and cross off. I've done my antonym change. Now I need a synonym. A synonym. I am going to say I handed Bennett, because handed is, I could call that a synonym to the verb gave. It's doing the same action, right? I'm handing him a cookie, or I gave him a cookie. And it's also in the past tense, so it makes sense. So for my synonym, I'm going to say handed. Now for my complete word change, I like to be the good guy. I gave Bennett a giant cookie, but I'm gonna say his daddy gave him a tiny cookie so that I look like the good guy and Mr. Johnson makes Bennett cry, not me. Okay, so I gave Bennett a giant cookie. In my improved sentence, I'm gonna say he for my subject pronoun, because that's one of my 7 subject pronouns, and that's my complete word change. He handed Bennett a tiny cookie. All right, and I've got a subject, verb, and it makes complete sense, and I have an end mark. So there is an example of a practice and improved sentence, and an example of also how you can have fun with them. So go ahead and do 3 of these on your own. I can't wait to read them.